So hello everyone and welcome and thank you for joining us for the MicroAge Talks Technology webinar series. Today's webinar will focus on voice over IP. My name is Maria Fiore and I am the Director of Business Development here at MicroAge, and I'm joined today by Robert Hogan, a Projects and the Service Delivery Manager and our subject matter expert for today's presentation. Before we begin, I wanted to mention that you can ask your questions throughout the webinar by typing them into the questions panel of the webinar tool, and we'll address them at the end of the webinar. Also, we are recording this presentation and the recording will be sent to you later today. Okay, so Robert, I don't know what happened to your screen, but I'm seeing two screens now, so all right. I'm just going to spend a minute giving you a quick overview of the MicroAge and who we are. So MicroAge has over 30 locations across Canada, and we are the largest network of IT experts in the country. We've been delivering services and solutions to our clients since 1981. Our team is definitely passionate about technology, but what we really get excited about is helping our clients attain the business objectives they set for themselves. That's why we do this. So how do we do this? Well, we work with you to identify your challenges and opportunities so we can provide the best services and solutions that will help address the challenges and give you the ability to go after the opportunities. And we do this with the support of a team of experienced and dedicated professionals. Our goal today is to share with you some of the knowledge around our knowledge around the voice over IP and how we found that VoIP solutions have helped some of our customers. So with that, I will turn it over to Robert to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this information session today concerning voice over IP. I would like to talk to you, discuss the possibilities of voice over IP in your business and help you determine if your telephone system is right for you. Some of the points we will cover today is what is voice over IP, VoIP, why you should consider moving to voice over IP, and what are some of the advantages of moving to this technology in your business. When should you consider a voice over IP solution? And at what moment would the voice over IP solution be a good choice for your company? Are you ready for voice over IP? Does your company meet the requirements necessary to make the move? What to look for in a voice over IP provider? And what are some of the next steps for the implementation of a voice over IP solution in your business? So what are some of the differences of voice over IP compared to a regular telephone system that is traditionally installed in an office environment? To understand the different technologies, we can start with what most systems are comprised of. A telephony system, or PSTN, public switch telephone service, is a voice-grade telephone service employing analog signals transmissions over copper wires. This is the standard method of telecommunication installed by telecom companies. These copper wires make the connections from the telecom office to the central computer in your company, or PBX, that is used to manage the calls. And what exactly is voice over IP, or voice over internet protocol? This is a methodology and a group of technologies for the delivery of voice communications and multimedia sessions over IP networks, such as the internet. With this, we can do away with the traditional PSTN setup or copper lines and connect the telephones directly to our internet connection or our existing network infrastructure inside of the business. So how exactly does voice over IP work? You would have your telephone connected to your network that transmits a telephone call via the internet. This voice call is basically an analog signal and is converted to a digital signal. If your telephone also supports video, you would be able to configure the video to pass over VoIP. A codec, coder, decoder would compress the data so that about 100 to 150 kbps of information is passed per conversation. It's not too big to congestion your internet connection. The transmission of digital signal is done according to a precise internet protocol. The codec decompresses the data to recreate voice or video. And these devices are digital and can include non-telephone devices such as tablets and computers, which could be used to make calls. This is where soft phones and software phones can be used. The software that can be used to stay connected is installed on other devices and configured to connect to a central telephone system, much like a computer is configured to connect to a network. And the central system that we have here can be local or hosted. As with all technological things, there must be a central system or server that can handle all the requests, information, and communications with the VoIP. There are two main models that can be used. You have your hosted installation and your on-premise or hybrid installation. The hosted installation, phones connect through your internet connection to a provider that maintains the equipment. So this is basically a cloud configuration. For an on-prem or hybrid IP, hardware is kept in your server closet and has to be maintained by you. The features for both installations are typically the same. They all include about the same options. In terms of costs for a hosted installation, there are lower setup costs. There are no maintenance costs. It's an OpEx model, meaning that you only have operation expenditures and you have no downfront payment apart from the telephones that you need to install. For basically any telephone system that you need, you'd have to have new telephones installed, but there's nothing other than that. It's only your service you're using. And there's ongoing service costs for maintaining the network of the provider. On an on-prem installation, the setup costs are higher. You have unknown long-term maintenance and support costs. What happens if this machine breaks down? How is it repaired? Do you need a service contract for it? There's a lower total cost of ownership, as basically you would not be paying somebody else on a monthly fee to maintain their equipment, but you would have to maintain your equipment. And there's no risk of fee increases. For future expansion, providers shoulder all the risks, work and complexity, meaning you don't have the burden of maintaining and working and upgrading your system on site. You connect to the providers. Adding or removing lines can happen quickly, and this can normally take a few minutes to set up a new telephone or a new line onto the existing service that you have. The updates are automatic, so the system is always up to date, and everything is controlled by your provider. For an on-prem or hybrid IP, you have to manage all changes to your telephone system, and the complexity of the task is increased. But you have complete control and flexibility in your system. The implementation of a system for a hosted system is cheap, quick, and easy. There's less dependency on in-house IT resources versus a hybrid IP or an on-prem solution that you have to handle the deployment. You have to allocate resources, internal resources, in order to do the configuration and the setup. A hosted IP solution is for any size business who wants to conserve IT resources and not have in-house IT resources. So more time to work on other problems than working on the telephone system. And organizations with IT resources available might opt for an on-prem solution, as they need more control over their phone system or need a highly customizable solution. So on the next slides that we will show you, it is more focused on the hosted solution of voice over IP, which is what we think would be the future technology, where everything would be going. It would apply to a lot more people, and we'll see a little further on how you can determine if it's hosted is better for you. In this diagram, we can see an example of a typical hosted voice over IP solution. Here, the PBX, or private branch exchange server, where everything would connect, is located outside the business infrastructure denoted by the cloud. The voice over IP provider who supplies the PBX ensures the maintenance upgrades, uptime of their server, in which you rent monthly access to. All devices would connect to the internet before connecting to the PBX, meaning that wherever you are working, you would be able to have a connection directly to the PBX. You would not have to be inside the business. So why consider hosted voice over IP? Probably the number one reason to switch to a hosted voice over IP platform compared to other advantages is the cost reduction. There are no large upfront costs. Voice over IP services connect to your existing broadband. The premium paid for the copper lines is removed. It's in an operating expense model, meaning that you only pay for the services that you need. And if you would need extra services for a rush period, it can be added without long-term contracts or hardware purchases. Adding lines to an on-site PBX could require a hardware upgrade. Web-based management. This simplifies the task of managing and configuring, which would reduce costs for technical support and training. A good example of a practical use of this would be the ability for you to redirect a phone number to somewhere else or to a cell phone in case of an electrical outage or disaster without physically being on site. Another advantage would be increased productivity. If you have multiple offices across the city, a country, or around the world, Voice over IP allows your employees to connect to the same secure communication network, reducing overhead and long-distance fees. A remote location can be reached via an extension number, and no long-distance charges are incurred. Various tools will allow you to see if the person at the remote location is available or online or in a discussion. This allows access to communications on any device, improving efficiency. Improved collaboration, the ability of various forms of communications to connect people quickly and easily over a unified network, email, landline, cellular, conferencing, voicemail. The tools are there with each hosted voice over IP provider in order to make sure that you are able to respond to the call no matter where you are. If you're on the road, if you're in your car, if you're at your house, you have to work from the office. This enables remote teleworking, and can also include CRM integration for certain applications. Mobility, connect to any device anywhere at any time. This is no comparison to traditional telephone systems, as traditional telephone systems we would basically have to be in the office at all moments. Now we can be reached anytime, anywhere. Flexibility and scalability. With a hosted voice over IP solution, web-based management allows for making changes easily and quickly. Services can be added and removed as needed without having a long-term contract applied to the service. An example of this would be a hair salon that has more people booking appointments during periods where there's a holiday. And provisioning and deprovisioning is simple and inexpensive. So provisioning equipment would be basically configuring the telephone for your hosted voice over IP provider. Most hosted voice over IP providers are compatible with Cisco, with all the big marks, Cisco, Yealink, Polycom. So they would take care of the provisioning, and this is done simply and inexpensively. So when would be a good time to consider hosted voice over IP? The ability of maintenance and support. Expertise no longer available or difficult to find. What happens if there is no local technician or contractor that can work on your system? Costs go up as more time is required to fix the problem. Or difficulty of finding compatible telephones or equivalents. Original or refurbished phones compatible with your phone system are difficult to find. The end-of-life equipment, which is no longer sold by the company or manufacturer at times when material is defective. This is a good example of this would be a classic Nortel PBX. Even though these machines are still in production, are still in use today, it is difficult to find a local technician that can work or can source parts reliably in order to have the system repaired in a timely manner. No flexibility for adding a business extension in a remote office or home office. So if you have a new office that opens and you need to have a telephone installed, telephone system installed in that new location, normally with an older system, you would have to dial out as if you were dialing to another person. With a hosted voice over IP solution or even a hybrid solution, it is possible to have a system installed that you would be dialing extensions instead of dialing the remote office public number. This will keep costs down, as there would be no long distance fees associated with this. Everything's passing over the internet. Another good point to consider when choosing if hosted voice over IP is good for you is if your business is moving. Either the building does not have the voice cabling, or you're not confident that your phone system will power up correctly. You would not need the cable for the old telephone system. You would just have to cable for your network connections, which you would already probably have to do if you were moving to add new network drops. And also the downtime would be a lot longer if you would have to physically move your telephone system versus with a hosted voice over IP. It would you would just be able to redirect the number or redirect the telephones, disconnect the telephones. When programming your system, or your phone system, requires using a dial pad. This programming changes, such as new call routing through a telephone keypad and a small display, might not be intuitive. Web-based programming helps to make simple changes fast and easier to transfer, and this you do not have to have access to the physical machine. This can be you can make changes from your house, you can make changes from another city. The ability to forward a business line to a mobile line from anywhere. Salespeople, in particular, are on the road more often and do not have the time or the ability to forward their business line to their mobile. So basically, you would be able to ring everybody anywhere. You would be able to have multiple devices in order to be able to be reached as soon as possible. So what are some of the features of voice over IP, of hosted voice over IP features for SMBs? A customizable auto attendant, which would answer the phone and redirect the person to the right department or to the right person, is available. And these are highly customizable so that you would be able to include whichever type of options you would want if you would want to transfer to a group, transfer to a person or a department. Call control gives you the ability to control what happens when a call comes in. You get to decide where the call goes, and this change can be made quickly. And if ever you would need to change to, let's say someone is out or away, the changes can be made in a couple seconds. Ring groups control where calls are directed to ensure you do not miss any calls. There are also call queues that can prioritize the incoming calls, and call centers that can offer more advantages and options than call queues. Mobility extends all your phone services to your mobile phone transparently, as if you were still in the office, making it easier to be reached and missing less calls. Call recording is a possibility with hosted voice over IP. You would be able to record your conversation on demand or automatically, depending on the type of need that you have. In order to show your clients, you'd have one number that would ring all your devices. So you can have it ring your cell phone, your tablet, your computer at home, your computer at work, your telephone at home, or your telephone at work. Push to talk is an option that is available to immediately communicate with another team member. This is possible on certain models of telephones and with certain hosted voice over IP providers. And there is also a possibility to have an intercom, which would be good for a garage or a warehouse installation. People that necessarily would not be able to hear the phone or we're not able to get to the phone in time. Shared call appearance. Incoming calls ring multiple devices, connecting the first device that answered. This could be for one person, as in one number, or for multiple people to ensure the call is answered. Hosted voice over IP takes care of faxes. So for fax management, incoming faxes are received and sent by email. No need for a dedicated fax machine, saving time and money. Voicemail to email converts voicemails to audio files and delivers them to your inbox. Also, the devices will share the same voicemail, making management less difficult. So some of the questions that you need to ask to find out if you're ready for voice over IP is internet connectivity. Is your internet connectivity sufficient to support the requirement of voice over IP, depending on what you would need, how many lines or channels you would need? You would have to evaluate if your internet connection is sufficiently fast enough, and also can verify if you have problems with your internet connection, or if you're in a zone that you do not have the necessary requirements. You could possibly consider a second internet connection and have your network route to that second internet connection for the installation. Bandwidth. You would need to know how much you would need in bandwidth to make sure that your internet connection would be able to handle it. And you would also need to know if your current infrastructure will be able to support all the IP telephones that you would need to install, or soft phones. Costs. In the long run, voice over IP will save you money. However, it is important to understand the monthly service management and maintenance costs, so there are no surprises. You would have to evaluate just to see if exactly how much you are paying, and possibly how much you could save with a hosted voice over IP solution. Also, there's a question in regards to security. It is possible for hackers to intercept voice over IP calls. Digital communications can be captured. Is it important to protect your telephone system in the same way and following the same best practices as with your network devices? So what do you want to look for in a voice over IP provider? Some of the most important things that you will need is you will need a provider that understands your needs and asks the right questions. Some of the questions that you need to have asked are, how many users, how many devices do you need? Do you have any remote offices? Or do you have any plans for future expansion? Do you have any conferencing or collaboration needs? Do you have a call center? Is there a large volume of calls? What is the flow of calls that enter into your business? What are some of your goals and specific needs that you have for your communication system? And what are some of the irritations that you have with the system that you have presently in place? And quality of services. For a voice over IP provider, it's always important to ask for references. Make sure that they have done installations, that they're known to have a good success rate, that their clients are satisfied. Make sure as well that offerings are clear. Do they offer what you need? Are they able to, with their solution, meet all your expectations in regards to mobility apps, collaboration, type of phones? What features are included in their offering? What services are you getting? And do they coincide with what you need? What features are optional? And what are the additional costs associated with these features? Is your equipment compatible? Or do you need to purchase new telephones or other equipment in regards to this? And what type of contracts they have necessarily with this? Another important access would be a business recovery plan. What happens when things go bad, if things go down, if there's a problem with the internet? How do they handle these situations? And what kind of training is offered with this installation for a hosted voice over IP. So some of the next steps in regards to the assessment of whether hosted voice over IP is good for you. One of them that is not mentioned here would be to verify your existing contract to see if you have a contract, and when it expires. There's a lot of telecom communication companies that might have a 3-year or a 5-year contract. Does it expire in 6 months? Is it up for renewal? Are you locked in for another 3 years? Something to verify before. Assess your internet connection and bandwidth to determine if voice over IP is appropriate. You would need to make sure that your internet connection and everything is stable and there's no major modifications that would be made, or how you would need to make a plan to modify your network in order to accommodate the voice over IP. Assess your current situation to determine if your phone system is meeting your current and future needs. Or if you're expanding, are you able to expand with your current phone system, or would you have to add in different types of phone systems, more lines? How does that work for you? Analyze any cost savings versus requirements. And work with your service provider for all the above. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. Here is a free online assessment. This will help you determine if you're ready for a voice over IP solution that you can fill out. It is active right now. And I will give the line back to Maria.
Thank you, Robert. That was a great presentation. I appreciate it. So a reminder to everybody that if you do have questions, you can type them into the questions panel of the webinar tool, and we'll answer your questions. And we did receive a couple of questions while you were presenting, Robert. So first one came in was from Alan, and he says, we have an intercom on our door that allows us to speak over the telephone system with people who want to enter our building. We can unlatch the door from our existing phone system as well. Is this possible with VoIP?
Yes, this is possible. There is a devices mostly from a company called Algo, and you are able to connect your voice over IP with most hosted voice over IP providers. Connect this device that would interface directly with the speaker in the door and the latch on the door.
Okay, perfect. Hopefully that answers your question, Alan. Next question came in from Linda. She says, our alarm system is set up on and is controlled with a regular telephone line. Is that going to be something that we can convert to VoIP?
Yes, it is possible with another device, basically which would convert the analog signal from a telephone, which is the normal copper phone line, that would connect to the network. This is probably supported in 95% of all alarm companies. So yes, it is possible. Another solution would be to keep a simple line, copper line, directly to the system. And I know that in new alarm systems, they are coming out with the option of 3G connection integrated into the machine, so that if there's ever a power outage or internet outage or something like that, it can still communicate.
Awesome. I know we ran this presentation earlier today in French, and one of the questions came in regarding Microsoft, Microsoft's Office 365 and Skype and PSTN, and when that's going to be available in Canada. And I know, Robert, that you did a little bit of research on that, and maybe we can give that information to the customers on the line right now.
Well, Microsoft PSTN access is basically in trial right now. They are working on doing the trial in Canada. They have completed trials in other countries, and there is, on the Microsoft website, it is possible to sign up for a trial if you would like to see. There is a certain criteria that you'd have to meet in regards to the number of seats, number of telephones, but they're starting to integrate it into Canada, so it should be coming soon.
Awesome. And I think you were saying that to be able to participate in the trial, you do have to have like 50 users or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's around the 50 users that we'd need minimum to be able to participate, to be considered to participate in the trial.
Cool. And like I said, it's a question that comes up often, and so I thought, why not address it here? We do have another question from Lauren, and the question is, what type of security is suggested for a VoIP system, software or hardware?
What type of security is considered for? Well, basically, security in regards to that, you would have to have the basic network security. A good firewall would be good, so that you would not have too many openings in your firewall. Basically, as well, anything on your network, it works with pretty much the same aspects as your network that you would have. So you need a good firewall. You would have to have manageable switches to be able to control the flow of information that's coming out.
And then I guess regular updates of, the security patches and things like that come up.
Exactly. Everything you would do on your normal network. So yes, updating, maintaining your firewalls, your switches, your servers, access to your network in general.
Okay, perfect. I don't see any other questions right now in the questions panel. So what I want to do today is just, thank you, first of all, Robert, for the presentation. Thank you all for being on the call with us today. And again, we encourage you to take advantage of the free online self-assessment. The link that you see there will also be forwarded to you later on today with a recording there within the email that you will get the link. So if you don't have time to write it down, don't worry about it. You will be getting it. And if we don't have any other questions, again, if the questions come to your mind after this presentation, please don't hesitate to contact us. That'd be our pleasure to answer your questions. And with that, I do want to thank you all and wish everyone a great day. So thank you.